Hey everybody, welcome back to Raw Food Muscle, and today I wanted to address a couple of things because a couple of people have asked me what they should have in terms of getting themselves started on raw foods. And this really depends on where are you as far as beginner, or advanced type of raw foodists, because a lot of advanced type of raw foodists, from what I've heard and seen, they really just go for all the fresh stuff. Nothing is really, made in terms of the nut burgers and things like that. I want to first start off with the blender. Now, if you're a beginner, just get a regular blender. You don't need the high power blender, only because it's really expensive, and if you can't really afford the Blendtec and the Vitamix, because the prices are going to range from around $350 and up. So if you get a regular blender, it might help you to kind of transition into it a lot easier. And a lot of people do have blenders at home anyway. The one thing I will say about the Blendtec versus the Vitamix is that the Vitamix, I don't have a Vitamix, I only have the Blendtec. The Vitamix has a stick that is really convenient to have, because when you're grinding down the food, at least on this one, if there's not enough liquid in it, I have to put water in it or some type of liquid to help grind it all down, whereas the Vitamix has a tamper stick, and then you just kind of mush it down, and it's kind of easier and more convenient. So that's one thing I will say about the Vitamix and the Blendtec. But I use this all the time because I use it for my green shakes, I use it for my soups. But like I said in the beginning, you can probably just get away with using a regular blender. The other thing is to have, you might want to have, is the food processor. Now the food processor, again, is really up to you, because it depends on what you're planning on making. Now this one, and the prices are going to range from $60 approximately. I think this one's called a Oster food processor, and I use it quite a bit when I'm making my crackers, when I'm making any type of nut burgers or things like that. And so it just kind of depends on what you plan on making. I want to think about getting a juicer. Now this is something that Dan uses a lot. Not this particular one, I don't think. No. And he uses it all the time. I don't use the juicer as much as I probably should. I use a lot of the Blendtec. I make my shakes in there. But now this one is the juicer made by Jack LaLanne's, which runs about $100, and it's a fairly nice piece of machinery. There are ones that are kind of really high up in price, if you want to get to the more advanced type juicers, but you don't really have to do that kind of thing. But if you do, the Green Star juicer is probably one of the best from what I've heard. They're like range from $500 and up, so that one's a little pricey. So it really just depends on if you want to do a lot of juicing, or if you want to do a lot of mixing with the Blendtec. But this is just some of the things you might want to think about. The other thing that I would highly recommend, at least if you're making a lot of different types of prepared foods, is the coffee grinder. Now the coffee grinder is only $20–25, and this thing works magic, man. I'm really impressed with that, and I use it for a lot of different types of things that I mix with, and so it's a good thing to have. The other thing is the milk bag. Now the milk bag, runs about $8, and the good thing about the milk bag, when I'm making my nut milk, my own milk that I have for whether I make it for shakes or cereal, I blend it all up in here with the water, and I pour it in here, and then I squeeze it all out. And I'll probably be showing you guys a video on that sometime soon. But these are really inexpensive, and even if you really wanted to, you can, instead of getting a juicer, or if you don't have a juicer because it's really expensive, you can grind down your vegetables in here, and then you can take it out and pour it in one of these bags, and then just secrete the juice out of it, and then use a pulp for other types of dishes. Like I like to make my crackers with the pulp sometimes. So you can use this. It's only $8. It's, you know, way cheaper than spending $500, but it really just depends on what you want to do. So the other thing I don't like about the juicers is that you have to clean all the blades and all that kind of stuff. And you know, when you're making shakes, you know, two times a day, maybe 3 times a day, especially when it's warm out, you know, it can get a little bit annoying. Now the other thing is the mini blender. Now this thing I use all the time because I'm chopping up, you know, onions, I'm chopping up some of my nuts, my seeds, and this one only ranges, you know, $20, so this is not too expensive. So it's nice and convenient to have. It's nice to be able to chop up your nuts and seeds in there because it's something that I use when I'm putting my cereals together. So I chop up some of my seeds, some of my nuts, whatever else I might want to think of, and kind of, you know, put it in there, grind it all up, and then put it on my cereal. Okay, next thing to have, maybe if you're really into dehydrating foods, I would start off with the Nesco. The Nesco is only, you know, $50, and you know, for me, especially if you're just one person doing it, even if you're two, you know, you can probably get away with something like this and you're not eating a whole lot. You know, you're dehydrating chips, fruits, other types of snacks, kale chips and things like that. It's just really nice to have something like this because it's not too expensive, and pretty much you can find this in almost any kind of department store. If you want to move up to the, you know, nicer type of dehydrator, then I have the Good For You version, and I like it a lot. It's worked for me, and the only thing I will say, by the way, this one, it comes in 2 different variations. The 6 trays is $140, and then you have the 10 trays for $170. So it really just depends on what you want to make and how much you want to make, and maybe just how much money you want to spend. I will say that the Excalibur has a version of this which is $130 depending on the trays, which is 5 trays, or you can move up to $220 for 9 trays. Now the good thing about the Excalibur is that it does have a front door on the front, so that if you want to remove one of the trays, for example, if you're stuffing a lot of cauliflower that might be big, or maybe sometimes some kale chips or something like that, it sometimes, you know, can be hard to close. So what I do is I remove one of those trays, or a few of those trays, to make space. But the downfall is I have to put a cardboard or aluminum over in front of it so that the air doesn't escape out, and it gets all dehydrated nicely. The Excalibur has a front door on it, and it kind of alleviates that whole problem. But like I said, it all depends on, you know, what you want to spend. So anyway, I wanted to share all this stuff with you. A lot of you guys have been asking me these kinds of questions, so I hope this is informative to you. And don't worry about, you know, if you're, you know, you're going raw, or even if you're on, you know, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers. You know, if you fall off your horse, if you know, cheat on a day, don't worry about it. Just keep on going. You know, make your next meal the right meal. Okay? So don't sweat it. Don't get down on yourself. Just keep on doing your thing, and keep on trying to reach your goal. Okay? I'll see you guys next time on Raw Food Muscle.